Hello, welcome for the last time to the Salty Triangle podcast. I'm Speedy, as you may know, and with me for the last time as well, Sheila and Pory.
Hey guys.
Hi. It's bittersweet.
Bittersweet. You.
Yeah, for you it's bittersweet, but for me and Speedy, who've been doing all the work, it's just like, oh, it's finally done.
Well, I mean, I like talking. I like the talking. So the discussion or about anime that we've watched, especially, I thoroughly enjoy that because the clashing is kind of funny. It is very funny. But the editing is not my thing. So.
Well, then maybe next time we do something like this, we should just do it live.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, it's functionally the same thing.
It's functionally
Except
the
minus
same
the
thing.
editing.
Yeah, we don't have to do any editing whatsoever. But then we'd have to figure out some kind of visuals. So either we're doing it on cam or we have something static. But yeah, it would make it a whole lot easier. It would just have to show up on the day itself on some kind of a schedule, and we'd be able to just do it again. Though I think we'd be running out of topics really quickly.
You think? I have a feeling that, no.
I mean, if we were to do this on a weekly basis, definitely. On a monthly basis, we might be able to hold on for a while. But there's only so much you can discuss until you start to have to just discuss new anime that have been coming out. And in general, the biggest thing in the anime community usually are the new anime, the new season, which is
that's slowly changing though, especially with Netflix.
I hope it is, because
no, it already is. It is changing.
No, you're right. She's right.
Okay, well, I believe it. I'm glad, because discussing anime that aren't finished yet, I mean, I see the appeal, but to make it the focal point of anime discussion I don't think that's a good thing. I think one should see a show in its entirety to really be discussing the entire thing, and just, I mean, having expectations and discussing where things are going is fun, of course, but, if you want to be taken seriously about your opinions on a show...
If you want to be taken seriously about your opinion on a show, you need to have a reason for why you have the opinion on a show, like being one of the biggest anitubers, or, in my case, being an actual animator, stuff like that.
Pory and my opinion don't matter at all.
No, they don't. Y'all just plebs.
True.
You haven't even watched Legend of the Galactic Heroes, okay.
Nice.
Call back to that, huh? But speaking of seasonal shows, last time Pory promised us something. He told us something, and we were happy for him, and he betrayed us.
How dare you,
watched
Pory?
He's watched the seasonal shows after all.
I'm so disappointed in you, Pory.
He needs the rehab so bad.
I'm not gonna try to justify it, alright? I'm not gonna try to justify it.
What made you go back into your old and bad habit of watching the seasonals? What?
I don't know, I was just I kind of got out of my slump, and I was like, I want to watch anime, and I was like, oh, the new season's starting, I know, I'll watch that. That'll work.
A quick slump.
That was a very quick slump.
3 weeks.
The last time I was in a slump, I was in a slump for 2 whole years.
Yeah, that's gotta get on that grind, you know? On that Sigma male grind set, as the kids say.
Oh my god.
Alright, shall we actually dive into what we've been watching?
Well, yeah, so while you might as well just tell us whether this season is any good.
Well, it's only a few days in, and it's not.
I mean, so far there are only, 10 or so anime out, right? At most, I think.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, about that.
So yeah, there are a whole bunch more coming. The one I'm really looking forward to is the Pirate Princess one. That one looks promising.
The Pirate Princess? I've never heard anything about that before.
Fena, Pirate Princess. I haven't heard of it either. I just saw the poster. And of course, the new Mamoru Hosoda film, Belle, is apparently coming out this season too. So I'm looking forward to those two.
Neither of which I have any idea. Honestly, I can't.
But you know Mamoru Hosoda, right?
I know his name.
Wolf Children.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, Summer Wars. The Girl Who Left Through Time. The Digimon movie, Our War Game. The Boy and the Beast. Mirai. He was the director of all of those.
Right. He's a famous guy.
He's a very famous guy. So he's bringing out Belle this year, which apparently is coming out this season sometime. And I'm really looking forward to it because it really does look like a Beauty and the Beast kind of a story. But with the, the typical Mamoru Hosoda, like two worlds, the digital world versus the real world kind of a thing. He has that theme going on in a lot of his movies. And so that looks really, really interesting. It looks great. I love Hosoda generally. I love him much, much more than Shinkai.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen one.
You gotta. Dude, his movies are great. If nothing else, just watch Digimon Our War Game, since we're watching Digimon anyway. We gotta get back to this by the way, at some point. But yeah, watch Our War Game. Our War Game is great.
I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. I can't I can't remember.
That line is so funny.
Okay, Pory, I have one question for you. One of the ones that's coming out is the Duke of Death and his maid, or his black maid. The manga says his black maid. So I've read the manga. It's cute. It's wholesome. How is the anime?
Wait,
the Duke of Death and his black maid.
What's it in Japanese?
Shinigami Bochan, Tukuro Maid.
Oh, yeah, I need to watch it.
No, sad. Okay, never mind then. That was the one that I was curious about, what people think.
Yeah, I have no idea what's airing. I've not heard about any kind of hyped shows that have
in all honesty, so far this year, from what I can see, except for the next season of Slime Musikai, there's literally nothing here that has any hype surrounding it. Well, I guess the next season of Kobayashi Maid too. Those two, I guess.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the next season of Slime Musikai, the first episode was amazing. It's now the show is now a game of diplomacy, and that is what the show should have been the whole time. So I'm very excited.
I mean, from what I understand, in every season it just kind of changed changed game genres basically. The first season was kind of like a building, and then the second one was more of a action adventure, and then this season is more of a diplomacy kind of thing. Which is actually kind of interesting, that's how you keep an isekai like that alive without wearing it out.
Is it really worth watching? All of these seasons? How many seasons are there now?
3 so far only. Well, 2, technically.
Well, this is 2.5.
Technically speaking, 2. The second part of the second season is running, but the first season is so good. Watch it.
Okay. Oh wait, I've seen. Well, I think I've mentioned this before. I've seen most of season 1, and I think I stopped at the last arc of season 1.
Yeah, the last arc of season 1 isn't that good. It kind of.
That's the worst part of the show. It is.
But I hear season 2 is really good. Haven't watched it yet. And from what I see here, one episode out, and already on Anime Planet, it has a rating of 4.7. So let's hope it's.
Oh, is that like the high show on the site?
So let's hope it stays that way and doesn't drop in quality like some shows ought to do, tend to do, want to do.
I mean, when you're getting into a complex geopolitical show, I can imagine it tailing off, but I'm holding on. I'm holding on hope, because if it's good, it will be so good.
But if it's bad, it can really, really, really drop.
Yeah, it would really it would piss me off because there's so much they've built up all these nations, introduced a few more, and we know we get the idea of what these nations stand for and their economic situation and stuff like that. So watching it play out is going to be super satisfying. But if the way it plays out is just, if it ends up being that Rimuru just does everything, I'll be pissed, because that's not how the world works.
It doesn't. And honestly, Rimuru never has been one for being in the forefront. He always wanted other people to do shit for him. So there's that too. But so far the writing has been good enough that I'm looking forward to it. Also, I'm probably not going to watch second season in a long time. Probably not for another year or so. Have we ever actually explained our our system on how we watch things? We wanted to do that sometime.
Well, I mean, if you want to, this is maybe the chance.
Yeah, sure. Last episode, let's explain how we watch anime.
I've kind of jumped off of my system at this point. The way I watch anime is group watches and sometimes something in between that really interests me. That's all. I rarely watch anime outside of group watching.
Pory?
I watch seasonal shows, and when I have time to watch something else, I will just randomize a year, randomize a season, and pick a show, and I'll watch it.
Right.
And yeah.
So mine is a little bit more complicated. Oh shit, where do I even start? Okay, so I have this this list that I keep of like, the 10 quote unquote original as in, just no sequels, no specials, anything that I keep that are like, 1 to 10 on the priority list. And then I have my, like my watching list, which is, what I'm going through at the moment, one after another. And I always put one anime from that list on there, and then I put and then I put like 5 or however many sequels I need of like show that I have already watched, ranging from A to B, from A to Z. So I go through that alphabetically until I have reached like the next number that ends on 5 or on 0. So if I have like on my want to watch list, if I have 369 anime, I will put like 4 sequels and specials on the watching list, so that I will be down to 465. And then I go through all of these, and as soon as they're all through, I redo the list with like the next anime on the want to watch chart, or on the list, the original anime, and then the next 5, 6, 7, however many sequels. So yeah, that's how I do it. And then the ones that are on, the original anime that are on my list are always like the top rated ones that I haven't seen yet. So, for example, right at the moment, because I've watched literally everything that has a rating of 4.5 and higher, that list includes Psychopaths is the next one. Then No Dame Cantabile, Run with the Wind, Ryokuse, Banana Fish, Ping Pong, Rainbow, Great Pretender, Yuri on Ice, and One Outs.
Yeah, and you also started watching or watched or Taxi. Was that also?
Yes, so that's the next thing. Whenever there's an anime in a new season that has a rating of 4.5 or higher, the very moment that it's done, it immediately goes into my want to watch list, so that I don't have to put it into the list. I started that just this year because, I realized that, wait a minute, there are going to be like 4.5 anime out, and it's going to take me like a half a year until I get to them, despite the fact that, they're like way above the level of, where I'm currently at by watching anime. So anything that is higher than, the current level of anime, original anime that I am watching, that's in my top 10 list, I put that on my my watching list the very moment that it's finished. So that's how Odd Taxi got on there.
Yeah, because Odd Taxi is something that I've started as well. Haven't finished it yet. I know that you have finished it, and Pory has also watched it, and you've both praised it a lot, and I can see why, because it's just really good. I've heard it described and compared to like Quentin Tarantino movies, which I mean, I haven't seen one of those movies. Does that sound right to you?
Okay, I've watched a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies, and I gotta be honest, I can see where the comparison comes from, but that's giving Odd Taxi a little too much credit.
Yeah, I figured that'd be the case.
If anything, Odd Taxi reminds me much more of Durarara, minus all of the supernatural shit.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Because it's a lot of different characters that are introduced, that are doing their own things, that have their own side plots. There's no... Well, I guess there is a main central character in Odd Taxi as compared to Durarara.
Yes, that's the big difference. There is like a central character. There is an actual character there pulling the strings and, moving the plot forward consciously, rather than, a whole different characters, each with their own agenda, coming together, and not one person having, having, like in Odd Taxi, the main character has... he's the link between all of the characters. In Durarara, there is no link between all of them. There is, what was his name? Mikado, who, has, who is the founder of the Dollars, right? So, but the organization, the Dollars, is really the big link because everybody is in the Dollars, but that doesn't mean that Mikado knows everybody who is in the Dollars. And here, the main character of Odd Taxi because he is a taxi driver, I don't even think that's as far as to say. He knows every person involved, and so he is the link between all of the different people.
Yeah, they end up in his taxi a lot.
Exactly.
Or in front of them, or next to it. Something like that. Yeah, I think I've seen 5 episodes. 5.
Now, this might be a little bit blasphemous for me to say, but I actually liked at least the first season of Durarara better than I liked A Taxi. For the one reason, well, 2 big reasons being that, first of all, a lot of the reveals, I would say, for the twist weren't really that interesting. Point number 1. And then point number 2 being that the writing was almost a little bit too tight. As in, there was no real room for you to figure out what the twist was by yourself in a lot of the cases. And they just straight up...
Yeah, it's literally impossible.
Yeah, and they just straight up had to tell you just because there's, no room in there for foreshadowing or for, connecting the dots,
In fact, nobody knows until 10 minutes before.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of feels like it's cheating a little bit, right? In hindsight, when the twist is revealed, you're like, oh, okay, that does make a lot of sense. I can see how that would be there. But, the fact that it's literally impossible to figure out any of this for yourself.
Well, because I was watching the show, and I'm not going to tell the Speedy the twist, but I was watching the show, and there are birds that are regular birds, and I was like, why are there birds that are people birds, and then why are there birds that are just regular birds?
Oh, I'm not just talking about that twist. I'm talking about all the twists.
Oh,
all of the twists are like that.
I immediately, the moment I saw real birds, I was like, so are these cats and stuffs, are they like metaphors for humanity but different? This is an artistic choice, which is
we're not telling you that. That's kind of part of the big one of the last few twists. But that kind of goes with all the twists. There are a lot of, well, maybe not all of them, but there are a lot of twists in there. The majority, I would say, of the twists and turns that it takes, where it's it's not giving you a chance to figure this out. It's there.
Oh,
and
like
then
the
it
llama
tells
and
you.
stuff.
Yeah, for example. It's there, and then it tells you, the characters tell you, yeah, that's my deal, and you're like, oh, that's great. Would have loved to, not have that told to me, and instead have, since it is a mystery thriller kind of thing, would have liked to have a chance to learn this myself. Would have been nice. Either that, or they make it so obvious that you literally cannot not get the twist. So for that alone, I like Durarara a bit better, because Durarara, gives you enough hints that you can figure out for yourself without beating you over the head with it.
But
yeah, I agree.
I think besides Odd Taxi, we started watching Fate Zero.
What a bad show.
Fuck you! Fate Zero is great.
It's
dreadful.
Yes.
I find it average. The animation is beautiful. Some of the characters are just really fun to watch. I like this style, the way it's drawn, but the fights are so oftentimes just showcases and just don't mean anything. They just
the problem is the show is about this crazy tournament, life or death. The winner literally takes all. They get a wish, but nobody wants to win except from the guy that cheated on his wife.
Everyone just lets the others just live when they have the chance to kill them. And it's really obvious that it's based on a visual novel, because there's a lot of talking between the fighting, and there's just so many times where if someone really, really wanted to win, they would have just stabbed them right when they could, because...
How far are you in?
We've watched 8 episodes now.
8?
Yeah, okay, that's gonna change real soon, and very fast and very violently.
It should have been the show could be over.
The show could be over.
The show could have been over if everyone had been fighting each other from the very start in a smart way. And then there's with the, I think you said that, where we had the Lancer in the fight twice now, and the first fight he was pretty good, but there's he was missing an edge, and then in the second fight he pulls out a new ultimate move that he could have just...
No, Saber does that. Yeah, Saber in the first fight is losing.
Yeah.
And she should assume that I'm gonna die. But she just doesn't use this crazy tornado attack, and then in the next fight she uses this as a tornado attack. Why? It doesn't the only reason that she wouldn't have used it is because the show needs Lancer to still be alive.
Well,
that's the only justification.
There is that, but then there's also the fact that they kind of beat over the head with the fact that was just a strength gauging fight, the first one.
Yeah. Okay, but you don't need to gauge strength if your opponent's dead. I mean, I'm gonna.
Well, yeah, but
here's
you see the problem with that is, right? Like, everybody only has one noble phantasm. So let's just say Saber loses the fight, is already in a position where she is the one who is shit, my English is not working anymore. She is the one who's losing, right? She unleashes her noble phantasm. There's very much a possibility that her opponent can stop her noble phantasm, so then he knows, first of all, what the noble phantasm is, second of all, who she was as a person, and if that happens, he has such a huge advantage over her that there's no way she can bounce back from that.
Well, I mean, she
already
tells everyone who she is in the first fucking fight, so that's not really something to think about.
The reason that this doesn't make sense is because if she loses, she dies. She has to win. Unless she knows that this guy won't kill me if I don't try and win, which is nonsense. Why would she think that?
Because they literally say that this is a strength gauging fight. Both of them do that.
No.
Pretty sure they did.
I think people on the side. I think the guy with the sniper rifle that cheats on his wife is like, yeah, they're just testing the waters. They're doing this and that, so we're not going to bother paying attention. But if you're fighting somebody, the assumption should be that, and you're not fighting because it's a little game. You're fighting because you want to get the Holy Grail. Your assumption is, if I don't go full force constantly, I will die. And that there's just no. I just don't see how you could have any other.
That's not how fights work.
They're magic fights, and the magic system in general is also a little wishy-washy.
You mean it's a soft magic system?
Yes, that's what she means. Or dumb, as some people
dumb.
call it.
It's soft magic systems aren't dumb.
No, it's not because it's a soft magic system. This particular magic system is not used properly. The author is able to adjust what the magic can do and what they do with the magic in order to have the fights go the way he wants it to go. It feels like it doesn't make sense. I can't.
And that is a bad thing because
it
doesn't feel real.
It breaks your verisimilitude when you're watching a show and you're like, oh, this if this person wants to win, which all the characters want to win, they would do X, Y, Z, but they do A, and it doesn't make. It's just there is no justification for it other than it's convenient for their story.
Yeah, it's like when a character pulls out a new magic move and that's not okay. The author
another
just
example.
Up with that. It's not. Oh, look, he's smart. He managed to figure out how to work with his magic to the best of his ability. No, it's just a new magic ability that the author just came up with.
And it's not even with the magic. So in one of the episodes, this guy gets bound to a tree. He is immobile for 30 seconds.
Yeah, more than that.
And this girl has ample opportunity to shoot this guy in the back of the head 6 times.
More.
But yeah, I mean, she could unload her clip in this guy's head. But they just watch as he breaks this tree in half. That is nonsense. It's
and then
stupid.
after he breaks free and he walks to her to take her out, that's when she pulls out the gun and tries to kill him, but that's too late. And it's just maybe it made sense in the visual novel, and they adapted it very badly.
I mean, when I watched it, first of all, the adaptation itself, in and of itself, was great. And second of all, when I watched it, my main concern was, the same as what the fighter's concern was. Who are these people? How strong are they? Right? It's more of along the lines of, before you start any fight, the first thing you have to do is gather information.
Okay, but if
they were in a life and death situation.
Especially in a life and death situation. The very first thing you do is to gather information.
No one was around. They knew that because they had one of them has an ability where they know when someone else is around. Fine.
Yeah, that's a servant ability.
And at this point, there are no. There are only masters. There's no
Servants.
fighters around. Yeah, there's no servants around. So why not just shoot the guy that you know is trying to fuck up your husband in the head, because he's trying to compete with you for this holy grail that you really
because
want.
Because
you
that would set a servant free. The person know who their servant was and how dangerous they were and who they would go to if that master would die.
What?
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's one of the first things established in the Holy Grail War is if you kill a master, the servant goes free and can make a contract with another master.
So you don't kill him when he tries to kill you?
You kill both of them at once. You don't want to kill just one. Either you kill the servant or you kill the master and the servant at once. Because if you kill just the master, the servant goes free, leaving one master possibly with two servants, which would make them double dangerous.
Yeah.
You'd shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, no, but if
you are about to die, everyone should just hide.
If you are about to die from someone else killing you, why would you not kill him if you have the 30 seconds to do it? You're not even... The girl that was able to kill him wasn't even a master.
Then why was she in the fight to begin with?
Maya. She is...
she's Maya again? Help me out here.
The woman, one of those guys.
The black-haired girl, she's like a spy, and she's for the...
Kiritsugu.
Oh yeah, Kiritsugu's, his...
Yeah,
his,
side piece.
Sidekick kind of a thing. They had a very odd relationship, I agree.
And then she has a chance to kill the guy that is kind of the opposite of Kiritsugu. And she doesn't do it. And I feel like this is just one example of many moments where you're standing right next to each other. You could kill one another right now if you just weren't talking all of a sudden. Even your master is telling you to...
That is a big problem, I agree, in Fate. Like, Fate in its entirety, they're always constantly talking. That I hate too. But killing isn't always the best, way to do things. Sometimes, the more effective thing is to live and let live, strike another day when you have a better chance, or have a more effective chance. It's not just about killing them right then and there.
I just don't think that in that situation you would ever think, oh, if I just leave them alone, they're not going to kill me, because you've already been fighting to the death for the last...
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is, kill them another day might have a better effect than killing them right now.
Yes, but you can't kill them another day if you die right here.
Okay, so how did they get out of that? How did she get out of that? Do you remember? Because I do not, honestly.
The guy just knocks him out and walks away, which is stupid. He should kill him. But people didn't die. So.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. There are more than enough people gonna die.
I can see why maybe, because you said that servants can make deals with other masters, why maybe he wouldn't want to kill the white-haired girl, but the black-haired girl is right there. That's an enemy that is just...
But does the enemy know that she's not a master? As far as I'm aware, literally nobody knows who... No,
I'm pretty sure about that point.
No, they do not. Up until the very end, nobody knows whom Saber's master is exactly.
No, but this is not about Saber.
Well, she works with Kiritsugu.
Yeah, but that's the one... The one who is the master always has the commands.
Yeah, when he walked away...
And if you hide the commands, then what do you do?
It's on the hand.
No, they're not always on the hand. Are you not paying attention? The commands can be anywhere on the upper body. You can hide them.
He had said, neither of these women are the master. He had already said this. He had already figured it out.
So then, as far as I'm aware, there is absolutely no reason to kill them. Most people in the Holy Grail War aren't out for a bloodbath. They just want to kill as few people as possible to get their hands on the Holy Grail.
Well, this is a woman that almost blew up she did. She blew up a whole building and collapsed the building. So it seems like a reason that you would want not this person to be operating in this.
And it's not like
war.
He hasn't been fighting with her to the death. So the moment you get her served on a silver platter, you don't kill her.
Yes.
Only when you're trying to fighter, you might want to kill her.
Yes.
What?
And why would you not want to weaken the forces of an enemy? That just seems.
Well,
reasonable.
you just said that they don't know that she is that they know that she is not a master.
No, he knows that. He figured he had already.
Yeah.
figured
So
it
then,
out.
what reason does he still have to kill her?
To weaken
Because-
the forces of the
because
guy
you
that
don't
is
want-
the master.
Yeah, you don't
So
want
he
your
knows.
opponents to be
so he
fully forced.
knows that she is working with the master.
Correct.
How?
Because they're
Because he-
escaping together.
So there was a master there.
What?
No.
No, there is a master there. She's
Oh,
just
yeah, right,
fighting.
the other one
she's
is the
fighting the
master,
plant
yeah.
people across the other side of the.
You know, the more you explain this to me, the less you're making sense. And I've watched that. I have
the show,
literally
right?
no
Yeah,
idea
probably
which scene you're even talking about.
Okay, we're talking.
so this is
yeah,
all
they go to the estate. They've just received the order
Which
to.
estate? There are
They've just-
several of them.
They've just.
Who are
received
they?
Everyone, all the
masters.
masters and
Okay.
the servants have just received the order to kill the mage because the mage is killing children. So
The mage servant?
Yes.
Because they're all
the guy
mages.
that wants
The masters
John
are
de
all
Arc-
mages.
sorry.
The guy that wants John de Arc back.
Come again?
The guy that wants the guy that wants John de Arc back.
Jean d'Arc
It's a
is not
di-
in this.
No. Oh, you've not seen this for such a long.
The Hunchback guy.
The one with who has two
Oh,
eyes going
right,
in different
right.
direction.
Okay, him.
Yes, he's been killing children. His master has also been killing children. So the holy war is put on a hold so that they can first focus on this guy. But before they can find him, he shows up at the manor of the white-haired girl. The white-haired girl who is the wife of Kiritsugu, and
Ilias
Maya is also there. So there is a fight where Saber and Lancer fight the. It's not mage. It is a different class.
Is it? It's Caster.
Caster,
yeah.
It's Caster.
Where he fights Caster. While Kiritsugu has a showdown with Lancer's master, and he tells Maya to protect the white-haired girl who might conceivably be seen as the master, but has been found out to not be the master by the guy that shows up in the forest when they are quite secluded.
And
it's
who
the
is
church
woman.
that exactly? The guy who shows up in the forest?
The
explain it.
church guy. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
but
Okay, I know who you mean. Continue.
Yeah. And they have a fight to the death. They quite literally try to kill one another. That is his.
Wait, okay, who exactly has a fight to the death? Maya and
The white-haired
the
girl.
white-haired girl,
Maya,
Maya and
versus the church dude.
versus the church dude.
Maya, the white-haired girl, versus the church dude. And the church dude wants to get to Kuritsugu for reasons that I either do not understand or have been explained and I've just missed it.
Yeah, okay, but what you know about the church dude, one of the things that has been explained to you is that he has literally no agenda of his own.
No, I'm pretty sure that it's been alluded to that he does, but he just hasn't been able to voice it yet.
Well,
That's
basically
what I
speaking,
assumed.
his entire deal is that he is introduced as having no agenda of his own, and then because he meets Kiritsugu or learns about Kiritsugu, he creates or he starts developing an agenda of his own that all has to do with, you know, his confusion of not understanding who or what exactly Kiritsugu is, how he works, and so on and so forth. But aside from that, he has literally no agenda of his own.
Okay. Well,
So, you know, if he has, again, like, if Maya and Iliasville are not masters, he finds out that they are not masters, then he has literally no more reason to kill them because he has no orders to kill anyone who is not a servant or a master.
no, but so okay.
Okay, but you have to admit that it is.
I mean, that was I agree
Reasonable
that entire thing of, you know, him having no agenda and only following orders like a robot was a far stretch, like very far. And I was like, you know, like quirking an eyebrow at that when that was introduced in like the first episode, you know, like the 50 minutes episode. I'm like, okay, that is such a stupid thing. I don't know who came up with this. Whoever did it, like, really did not know what they were doing, but it's here and I'll roll with it. So
Okay, so yeah, if his motivation for not killing them when he had ample opportunity is that he wasn't told to, I guess it's a reason, but it is a dumb reason.
yes, but it does, make sense with his character, even though it's a dumb character. I agree with that. It's a very, very dumb character, but he does get interesting later
Kirei,
down
that's
the line.
his name.
Yeah.
And then one more very minor point about the combat that annoys me is part of like fantasy, like the fantasy of like medieval warfare is the way that the weapons would interact, right? So like that's why you have a guy that uses spells and a guy that uses a bow and a guy that uses a sword and a guy that uses a spear, right? It's for the way these interact, the fighting styles that you would use with these weapons, and they just do not fight like you would fight with these weapons at all.
I mean, that depends.
So
they kind of do, but see
in the Saber Lancer fight, Saber is constantly keeping her distance from Lancer, which is illogical because Saber has less reach.
Yeah.
It is like combat 101 that you would want to be close if you had a sword against a guy with a spear.
So you just want to get the spear out of the way in
except
trying
that
to dodge it and then getting close.
that Lancer doesn't know how far her reach is. So that gives her a mental
Yeah, but she does.
Yes, she does.
She knows it's less than a spear.
Well, yes, but the thing is that he doesn't. So he might be like, wait, how long is her reach? Can she really reach me from there?
Yeah, but then halfway through the fight, he finds out how long it is, and she still doesn't change it at all. It's still keeping her distance.
Yeah, well, Saber has been
completely.
shown to be highly, highly cautious, more so than she really should be, which I agree is not the best way to fight with her.
And yet she is seen as an A-level servant or an S-level.
Yeah, she's also apparently she's the strongest class.
Yeah, the song is the strongest of the
disagree.
Saber class, but I don't know anybody else of the Saber class. She's like the only person in the Saber class who's been introduced in the entire Faith series. So that being said.
Maybe Sabers just suck. I think.
Well,
that's
she does show later on how badass she can really be. But in all honesty, like, she is at her most badass. You're not going to believe this. In the Collide Prisma Ilia side series.
Oh,
when
yeah.
When they pull on Saber. Okay, so that series is so degenerate, right? I'm not even entirely certain why I'm even watching it. I think I'm watching it because Magical Girls, and I have a soft spot for Magical Girls. But, when they pull on Saber in that one, like, shit gets real when Saber comes out in Collide Ilia Prisma. Or Prisma Ilia.
I'm never going to watch that.
You really don't have to.
One other thing that
That's high art.
One other thing that I found really annoying is that the fights ended in such a way that they really didn't mean anything. And like the first fight in the harbor, I kind of get the reason why. They wrote it in as a showcase to have most of the servants meet, to have them talk to each other. It's fun. It's a little showing off on most sides. Just a little introduction of the dynamics. But then there's the fight of Lancer and Saber vs. Caster. And I was like, if this fight doesn't end with Caster dying, there is no reason why this was here. And he just manages to just get away at the end like it was all that the plan all along. Like, what was the reason for that fight? We've spent like 2 episodes. Half of those 2 episodes was spent on that fight, and in the end, it meant nothing.
The dynamics between Lancer and Saber changed, and that's going to be okay. So you haven't watched that far, but that fight is basically going to be the bouncing ball for a certain type of dynamic that they're going to have in the future. That's all I'm going to say. Because everything else is.
But that could have been the same thing, and it would have made a lot more impact if that fight had ended in them killing Caster.
Except then that what happens after with Caster would have then no impact, because then he'd already be dead.
Yeah, but
how
now you're stretching it. How about you wait
until you finished it? A lot of things that make no sense in the beginning come back in the end. Maybe,
okay,
possibly.
Fine. I still don't like it because you're just stretching it out over long. It's like the ultimate shonen move where you make them.
It just feels like there's not enough urgency in the show. That's
that's not a problem that's going to be around for very long. Not at all. Not one bit. Speedy, you've been playing Civilization a lot, right? Like, do you like that entire feeling of at the beginning everything goes like really, really slow, and then the snowball effect starts up, and like everything that you've built up in like the first few rounds, all of a sudden everything goes so fast at such a high rate. They're like, holy shit! I never thought like what I did at the beginning would snowball into that.
No, I have the opposite actually.
The
start of a Civ game is usually the fast one. Is usually fast. And
no, snowball effect in terms of not how fast it is, but in terms of how quickly everything goes and advances from that point on. Like, for example, you spend a lot of time getting together science, right, and then towards the end, all of the different science goals go so much faster.
I see what you mean, but I don't see how this correlates with...
it's the snowball effect. That's the snowball effect, right? And that's exactly what Phase Zero plays on, is the snowball effect. The first 10 episodes almost is just laying foundation, and from there on out, everything that has been laid down just snowballs and snowballs and gets bigger and bigger and faster and crazier and better.
Yeah, but if the foundation isn't strong enough, the whole show will just collapse in on itself.
Yeah, but the foundation is very, very strong in Fate Zero.
No,
You don't know that because you haven't seen it all yet.
Fine, I will be disagreeing with you later when I have actually watched all of it, and I will still have the same opinion. Just watch.
Wow, arriving to the conclusion before the evidence. Unreal, Speedy. How could you?
I hope I can just stay the same.
What a wonderful detective.
I've never called myself I have called myself a detective because I am the dumbest person alive. That's why it's a joke.
Okay, moving on. Pory, what else? We were at Pory's things that he's been watching, right?
Well,
no, I was watching seasons and stuff.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
There's one more that we've watched.
Which is?
Mujo and Noroji.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot that.
We watched 2 episodes of that and we kind of dropped that.
Do I have to know what it is? I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
It's an anime from, I think, 2018 that was adapted from a Shonen Jump manga. That was somewhere in, I think, released in like 2004, 2005. Have you seen the start of Katekyo Hitman Reborn?
Nope.
It has the kind of vibe like that, where it's just silly, and the author hasn't really worked out the magic system much, so they just do whatever they like with the magic.
Every spell does the same thing. Yeah. It takes 20 minutes to cast. It's so
lovely.
They try to tell with each episode right now. It's rather episodic, and they try to tell a touching story within the confines of this world with supernatural stuff and like laws of supernatural stuff.
Yeah, the laws also are just nonsense because apparently good spirits are allowed to exist on Earth, but one of the crimes is being seen, which is just so you're not allowed to exist. Is what you're saying because like it's just dumb. It doesn't make sense.
Mob Psycho 100 did it a lot better, is what I'm going to say.
I mean, Mob Psycho 100 does everything a lot better than anything. So I mean, it's Mob Psycho.
High bar. But like, Mob Psycho 100 is one of the anime that you could call actually good. So I'd say it is something to strive for.
Well, yeah,
meanwhile,
but like
Mujo and Roji is not good. It's
personally like I think Mob Psycho 100 is one of the best things out there. So topping that is going to be, especially in my book, it's going to be really, really, really difficult.
Yeah, no, you can get close to it. You don't have to like be better than Mob Psycho 100. That's going to take a lot. I'm just
if it's at all possible.
That would be a good start.
If Mob Psycho 100 is like a 10 out of 10, Mujo and Roji is like a 2 out of 10. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, let's move on. I'm not interested in it anyway. I'm just asking.
I don't have much more to say about it. Just wanted to mention it.
Okay,
I think that's all I've watched. So.
Okay, so aside from Odd Taxi, I've also watched the first season of Natsume's Book of Friends, which was cute. Natsume's Book of Friends is like one of those anime that probably on Mal, but at least on Anime Planet is, where all of the sequels are in the top 20, 30, 50.
Yeah. Right, yeah. It's on Mal, yeah.
It's cute.
It's like good time.
It's very it's very, very wholesome, right? You always think, because you're so, anime is always so confrontational. You always think, there's going to be a fight, or this is going to be going to be a confrontation. But then no, everything is always very like the problems are all solved very diplomatically and with a lot of heart and belief and all that good stuff. So if you are in a bad mood and you just need something to pick you up, something that is undeniably positive, almost desperately so, then go to Natsume.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes of it. I didn't dislike it, but
it is in Iyashike.
Yeah, I would say it is in Iyashike, but I wonder how they're able to fill so many seasons with.
I don't know. I've only watched the first season so far.
With this premise, like, I get that you could make a season or two out of it, but doesn't it get a little stale at a certain moment? But
I will tell you as soon as I have watched more seasons.
Yeah, please do.
And then what else I've watched is the final season of Fruits Basket, which, I mean,
no spoilers, but
what is there to say? It's like everything that has been built up over the last 2 seasons is just, like coming to a close, coming together so nicely, so wonderfully. Like, all the conflicts are resolved, some very cleanly, some not so cleanly. There is so much emotion, so much emotion. Oh my god, there's so much emotion. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, you know how like a lot of people, when Attack on Titan season 4 was airing, everybody's like, like it didn't just meet our expectations, or didn't just do everything we hoped it would do, but like threw all of it out of the water. Yeah, that's Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket does the exact same thing. It meets every single expectation and then some. It's just good.
Did the animation get better?
No. That's the one thing that's sadly. So here's the thing, though. Like, not many people are going to notice this, but Fruits Basket is very, very, very pretty. The reason it's so pretty is because the people in compositing are, the ones who really, really know what they're doing. There are some very, very good people in the compositing team. So they have some very pretty colors. Everything, works together perfectly. Nothing looks like it's out of place. And, like, good coloring, good compositing can really make up for a lot of problems in other departments. And in Fruits Basket's case, it has a lot of problems in the animation department and in the storyboard department. And it really deserves better. Like, yeah, if you have like great colors, great music, great script, everything is going to hit exactly how you want it to hit. But, in some cases, I'm just like, oh man, if only they had a better composition for the shot. Or, if only the animation was a little bit less awkward, it could have had yet another punch more.
And it would have made the impact so much greater.
Yes. But that being said, I mean, currently both on Mal and on Anime Planet, Fruits Basket Season 3 is the highest rated anime. It even overtook Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Huh.
And I do not think that's undeserved.
Okay.
It's just that good. And it just hits that hard. And aside from that, I am currently watching Hajime no Ippo. I'm 50 episodes in, but I'm not done yet, so probably not going to talk about that. And I think that's all I've watched since last time. Oh, I'm also watching Lupin the Third.
Yeah, you were
the big one, the original one.
You praised that one.
Yeah, I'm praising it mostly because it's, like, for me, especially, who, up till then had, like, for the last half a year, mostly watched, like, very modern anime, 2015 and up. A lot of, like, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2021 ones. This was a much-needed breath of fresh air. I mean, yeah, it has its own problems, right? Especially, coming from the 70s, where some things were not as woke, I should say, as they are today, especially in the sexism and racism department. But, a lot of tropes that are there now are just not there. A lot of the, a lot of the very typical way that, anime characters behave, the way that they're voice acted, the way that they're acted, the way that they are animated. It's just, there are all of these tropes that, make people get fatigued by anime. These little things that you don't even notice are there, that exist only in anime, are not in Lupin the Third. And I really, really needed that. I needed that so badly.
It's from a very different era, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's from 1972, I think.
So I've always been wanting to get into that, but I feel like I never had a idea of where the jumping on point was. Like, there's modern iterations of Lupin the Third. There's a lot of movies. There's
For me, the jumping on point was not last year, but the year before that, 2019. I watched Castle of Cagliostro, which, is Miyazaki's debut for movies. So for me, that was a jumping on point. And I loved it so much. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm watching Lupin. And then I just started with, with the first series, which is just called Lupin the Third from 1970. Oh, yeah, really, 1971 to 1972. It's just 23 episodes. Probably not for you, I would say, because it is very much a product of its time, right? And I know that you do not like watching things that are not in your comfort zone. And that is not something that is in your comfort zone. Let's put it that way. You can give it a try, I'd say.
It sounds like something that does it very differently, but... you know me well, so maybe you're right.
I mean, you can always give it a try. Watch the first episode. Actually, no, you know what? I may give you one episode that I think you might like. And, that's kind of the vibe for the entire Lupin the Third series. And if you don't like that, you're not going to like it.
I prefer to just start series from episode 1.
Okay. I mean, the first episode of Lupin the Third is really not going to tell you. It's another episodic show too, so it's not like you can jump in it anywhere and it's not going to change anything.
I feel like it would be a good show to group watch, so I might just save it for the group watch list.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a definite, because it is from the 1970s or early 1970s even, there's a definite, lack of skill. Like, the skill that is there is really, really good because that, everything that they did per hand. There's, no computer helping them. So it's just like, people knowing what they're doing. But also, you can definitely tell that there has been a huge, huge increase in skill in the last 50 years. And, that increase in skill is kind of lacking. So a lot of things come off as almost amateurish. But to me, it has a charm that is very reminiscent of, the old Pink Panther shorts, for example. So if you like those, you're probably going to like Lupin. You're definitely going to like the animation and the character designs and the character animation of Lupin.
I don't think I've ever really watched Pink Panther.
You should. It's good.
I know who he is.
How have you not seen Pink Panther? How have you not seen that?
Well, I've seen maybe in my youth, I've seen like one short Pink Panther short, but I've never really seen it on TV much. I don't think it. Well, I don't know actually. I wasn't shown it much on TV anyway, so I know who Pink Panther is. And there's like his theme music is very. Yeah. The moment you do that, the moment you sing that, it automatically sticks in your head, and now it's stuck in mine.
You're welcome. So the other problem with Lupin is also being a product of its time is it's a little bit, I would say, genre confused almost. But that really comes from the point that, I think it only started in the 80s where animation really was put into into different specific genres, or where, specific genres were even really a thing in anything TV related. Like film, yeah, definitely. But all of the talent, that came out of the industry would usually go into film. There wasn't that much going into TV. And the people going into TV were, often not as elite, I would say, as the people going into film were. So it has this thing where it's, it's comical, but you don't always know if it's trying to be comical or not, right? It's like if you read the old Osamu Tezuka manga, and, some of them is like, yeah, this is supposed to be gruesome, but, the way everything is drawn, the character designs, the posing is all, you know, like so much of a, like, the sophistication isn't really there yet to make the art fit the type of tone it's trying to get. And Lupin also suffers from that a little bit. So you're not always entirely certain if, you know, Lupin is trying to be funny or if it's being unintentionally funny just to you know, the art style at the time not quite being able to hold with the, you know, the seriousness of some of the scenes.
But you could reasonably claim that it's like a comedy show, or is it?
Not really. I mean, some episodes are very comedic, but then in others it's really not. And you're like, for me personally, there were several episodes where I was confused. Where it's like, you know, am I supposed to be laughing at this or not?
Yeah, but like your sense of humor is, well, to me, very weird. Because like I like in a comedy show.
Yes, but I can still tell when something is trying to be funny or not. It's just that, you know, usually more often than not, especially in Japanese comedy, it just doesn't hit for me. With Lupin the Third, I was legitimately asking myself, like, are you trying to be funny, or is this just a byproduct of, you know, the way that you do things?
I mean, could possibly also be the fact that maybe this was funny in the past, with other context around it.
No, I don't think you understand. If you have, like, literally a scene where, you know, there's a mass shooting going on, people are dying left and right, and you're wondering to yourself, am I supposed to be laughing at this because of how funny this is shot? Kind of like that.
Okay. I see. Well, I'd have to see it then.
Yeah.
I don't usually seek out comedy shows that much. Like
honestly,
when I find them,
I honestly do not think that Lupin the Third, like at least not the first series, like, you know, season 1 basically. I don't think it's supposed to be comedic. I mean, it says comedy in the tags, but I think it's more of a secondary or even tertiary genre.
I feel like that's kind of the legacy it has as being a comedy thing, isn't it?
But that's honestly, I think that's mostly due to Castle of Cagliostro. Because, you know, Castle of Cagliostro is the one thing that everybody talks about when it comes to Lupin the Third, and Castle of Cagliostro is very funny. That I agree with. It's also intentionally very funny. But the original Lupin the Third, at least the original show, like Lupin the Third, Lupin himself is, you know, very much a comedic character, you know. And I'm fairly certain he even does so on purpose, you know, just come off as this goofball. You know, all of the Spike Spiegels and whatever the protagonist of Trigon was, you know, all of these kind of characters.
Fesh the Stampede.
Yeah, are very, very obviously based on Lupin. Oh, especially, like, I just watched the very first episode of Lupin. I could already tell, so that's where Cowboy Bebop got that from. That's where Cowboy Bebop... The opening is, like, there is so much influence in there that went into Cowboy Bebop. That is, like, insane. It's almost a ripoff. That's how similar the two openings are.
I'd have to listen to them.
No, not the songs. The songs are very different. The visuals.
Oh, the visuals.
Yes, the visuals. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's really hard to put it into words because it's just such a different show. And since, you know, like in the 70s and 60s, there's just not enough animation coming out that I've seen, or that most people have seen, I suppose, that I could really compare it to and tell you it's like this but with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're also not much of a comedy fan. Like,
I mean, I absolutely am. I absolutely adore The Living Daylights out of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's just that Japanese comedy
in Japanese
doesn't do it for me.
That's what I was
going to say. And again,
Japanese.
I don't think that Lupin the Third is trying to be a comedy.
Yeah, but I'm not necessarily talking about Lupin the Third right now.
Talking about comedy.
You know, our topic is comedy, and I was trying to steer you there.
Come on. You were you're still so close. I was like, wow, this is really impressive.
Yeah, no, but no, Sheila was...
It's like it was
Sheila just didn't get the memo.
I did that on purpose, you know.
You
I'm
idiot.
absolutely 100% doing that on purpose.
You're sabotaging the one thing that I can do in this show.
I thought you had set this up, and I was out of the loop.
No. I thought you had. I was. She was like, she's starting about comedy. I can work with this. I can work us towards this. And then she just doesn't get the memo, but she did.
No, I did get the memo, and I sabotaged you on purpose.
She threw the memo on the ground.
Fuck you.
You're welcome. I love you too, darling.
No, I don't love you. We are talking about comedy
heart.
shows. Yeah, I know.
My itty bitty poor little heart.
No. Like you care. Your heart was broken long ago.
I don't think I've ever had one to begin with. Talking about comedy. Which of us has seen I think Pory has seen the most comedy shows. No, actually, because he doesn't like
Probably
gag
not.
shows. I think I've seen the most comedy shows in anime. And I don't watch them much anymore. Like the last comedy show / manga that I genuinely enjoyed. Well, I mean, not counting anime, that would be Brooklyn 99. But anime, probably Hinamatsuri?
That was for 4 years ago. What the fuck?
I tried Nichijou, but
You watched Lucky Star recently. That's very funny. There you go. You're funny.
that wasn't funny.
It is funny. It's so funny.
No.
I mean, I'm literally looking through the comedy tag of everything that I've watched, and there's almost nothing in here that actually managed to make me laugh.
Hold on, let me see.
But I also think the comedy tag is given pretty liberally.
Odd Taxi made me laugh out loud.
What?
At least in the first 5 tags.
Odd Taxi.
When the fuck did you laugh out loud at Odd Taxi? Wait, there were scenes where you were supposed to laugh at Odd Taxi?
Maybe not supposed to, but some of the remarks and the witty banter and the stuff that happens is just funny.
Like what?
I can't point. Like my memory is so bad that I can't remember.
The guy with
specific scenes.
he's not. I don't know is he a hog? Like the guy with the tusks. That's
a warthog.
A manzai.
I think he's,
yeah, that guy is hysterical. Every time he's on the screen, he's
Wait,
my favorite
the
character.
one
Every
who
time he's on the
raps?
screen, No, the guy, the manzai guy, the fat bloke who is upset that his partner is like a famous dude now. And he's having sex with
we
an idol.
found him funny?
He's hilarious.
Okay.
Every scene is the scene with the fucking guy with. Okay, is this a spoiler? It must be a spoiler.
Spoiler alert!
Speedy, do you know who Skullmask is?
Sorry?
Do you know who Skullmask is?
No.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
I've seen
then
up
it's a spoiler.
until where the cat dude who was like getcha addicted found the home of our main character, I think.
Oh, and then there's the plot twist that the taxi guy knocked his phone in the water.
Sorry?
There's like a twist.
Yeah, no.
Is that
Yeah. That one. But that was yeah.
Oh.
I watched.
And he,
I watched
the
the entire thing, and then he got into a taxi himself to follow the main character's taxi, and then he just showed up at his house. That's where that's where the episode ends. Oh no!
Okay.
No, I think the last episode I watched was the one after that, which ended with the very awkward scene of the monkey having a date with that idol, which was very awkward. But I can imagine that also being very funny. But secondhand embarrassment. It's just so awkward, and I just hate. It just goes against all of my principles of not being honest in a relationship. Like it's just.
I was looking at that.
Many lies, so many lies, and it's just like it's so obvious to the idol as well that he's lying is through his teeth.
I was just looking at this and being like, wait a minute, dude. Let's just say you marry. How do you expect this to go through?
Yeah. And also, he is 41. She is 17.
Yeah, that was icky. I think she was 18, but it was still icky.
Yeah, she's 18. Yeah, I mean, the guy is just fucking deluded and depressed.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I never laughed at Odd Taxi. There was never anything in Odd Taxi that actually made me laugh.
I don't remember what, but I remember laughing at least twice out loud.
I don't think I ever laughed out loud, but I was like, I'm the kind of person that likes the kind of humor where I go, that is funny. I go, yep, that's funny, and I'm just satisfied. I'm not like laughing. I'm just like satisfied. Yeah, that was a good scene. That was a funny scene. But yeah, I don't think anything is like hysterical.
I mean, nothing ever even made me chuckle. There were a few things that made me smile, but not so much because funny, but more because like cute or heartwarming.
But man, the gotcha episode was just so depressing. It was so depressing.
That's probably the worst episode.
I actually found that one hilarious just because of, how pathetic the guy was, and I was just constantly like, ha ha, you suck.
He was pathetic. Yeah, and it's like his life was just going out of control because he can't get his addiction under control. It's so sad. And like even before that, just having to care about
that episode is funny
about his father just kicks him to shit for $1,000
across the room.
Okay. Quick thing. Apparently, so I have heard, like I've watched several documentaries and shit on this. Child abuse is a really big problem in Japan.
Yeah, I imagine it is, but the scene is just not like the scene. The scene should be like intense and upsetting. It's not, because it's just so slapstick that you can't find it serious. You can't take it seriously. It's just funny.
I didn't find it funny. I mean, I find it like funny and how pathetic it is, but not funny because that's just me being me.
The scene where he is kicked from one room into another room, and the fucking table collapses. Yeah. That wasn't funny. That was like a Charlie Chaplin skit.
We're talking about very serious issues here. Child abuse.
Clearly there's something wrong with me.
All right, but like actual comedy shows, like the one I can think of that's kind of big is Gintama, naturally.
But you don't like the comedy side of Gintama.
Most of it I actually don't know, just because so much of it is, like toilet humor. And
yeah.
I've never been one for toilet humor. There are some, like, the longer it goes, the more I laugh at it, just because, it becomes less cheap jokes and more, character-based jokes. Like, anything with Okita and Kagura going against each other makes me laugh like crazy, because those two are just, them two coming together is like, like a tornado hitting a volcano, and I love it.
I always chuckle at the Zura Janai, Kotsuru no.
Yeah.
I like that gag. I didn't
like it at first, but like as it went on, it's like, yeah, this is like kind of consistent. Like it gets funnier and funnier the longer it goes on.
Especially when one time he accidentally turns it around. He's like Katsurai Janai. Like, oh wait a minute.
Yeah, the way they play with the way they, like once, that's what I'm saying. Like the longer it goes on, the more I like it, because it then becomes, at first it's just a cheap gag. Yeah. But then at some point, it's basically a character trait. It's not meta humor, it's a character trait. And so with the character trait, they can play with it, making it character-based humor, because, this is part of his character. The fact that he really hates that nickname Zura has made that, like part of his own deal, then gets confused by it when people the people who know him well enough start turning his own shtick around on him. So that's where character humor comes in. And whenever there's character humor, that always makes me laugh.
So, Pory, what is your favorite comedy show? Do you have a favorite?
And why?
The Night is Short. Well, it's a movie.
Which one?
But The Night is Short is... The Night is Short.
Oh, Night is Short, Walk On Girl.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Wait, what?
Night is Short, Walk On Girl.
Hilarious.
Masaki Iwasa.
It's the Tatami Galaxy pseudo sequel. Yeah. It's so funny. Like, but that show is just hyper absurd all the time, and that's why it's funny. But there are some clever jokes. Like
it's fairly wacky.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's just at 11 constantly, and that's like the part that that's the funny part. It also takes.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen what you're saying, Speedy?
I've only seen scenes of this in like anime music videos. There's this, like it looks familiar, but
you know what always managed to make me laugh?
What?
Hero Academia. Bakugo being angry always makes me laugh.
No.
Yes.
I find it kind of cringe.
No. Bakugo being angry is great. Especially in the English dub. Like, English dub Bakugo is just so good.
Bakugo is kind of, like, is a good character, but his I'm angry at everything is just, it's tiring. I never like people like that.
I mean, I do.
It's
like I said, especially because at some point, it's like nobody takes him seriously anymore.
Like,
that makes it even funnier.
And like, dude, calm down. Just stop. Just stop being angry all the time. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, he does. Watch the show, idiot.
The hilarious thing is, like, when he's quiet is when he's at his most angry. Like, it's when he's at his angriest. That's what the amazing... Like, if he's loud, everything's okay. He's just being himself. And when he's quiet, that's when it's like, oh shit, he's mad.
Yeah, like, I don't... Why do people tolerate such a person? Like, I would hate a person like Bakugo in
You
real
tolerate
life.
me. I'm basically a female version of Bakugo.
You don't scream nearly as...
Okay, but like
the screaming is a large part of my annoyance with him. If he's just angry on his own without making a noise in the scene all the time, that's fine by me as long as I don't notice it. But it's just so annoying how he's so abusive to literally everyone around him. Like, makes no effort to make friends, and yet still people somehow accept him and try to be friends with him. Why?
I mean,
why would you want to be friends with this guy?
First of all, that's like the entire point of his character development is, that he learns this lesson of, you kind of have to. You're not going to be. Yeah, he does actually. It's very, very subtle. Like, I was actually surprised when I actually saw for the first time, him being a team player, and I was like, holy shit, he's actually gotten there, and it doesn't feel forced, meaning there has been a constant to getting there.
So do they then drop the gag where he just gets angry in class sometimes, or does he still do that?
Well, that's a catch-22 because they don't show them in class as much anymore. Like, things get really, really serious. That's where I stopped. Anyways, I stopped reading at some point just because I didn't have time to read manga anymore. And so there was like, shit hit the fan and things got serious. So we didn't see them in class much anymore. But he's still very loud. And like I said, it's like, him screaming and him yelling is not him being angry. It's just kind of how he is, And so it's like he will say the same kind of, uplifting things. He will, like, there's one thing that he says, it's like, if you're in danger, I'll come get your asses out. And if I fuck up, you're gonna come get me, right? He says that in his same, like, screaming tone that he says everything else, just because that's who he is as a person. But, yeah, so there's a definite, work towards him becoming very much a team player, just because he's slowly but surely, like, being forced to realize that you can't do everything on your own. And if all you look out for is yourself, you're going to, miss the people creeping up behind you. You're going to miss the people who are already better than you. And so it's a lesson that he learns, like, one step at a time. And the first step for that actually already was taken in his, in the very first arc, the very first fight. When he sees Todoroki and realizes that, holy shit, there are people better than me. I am not the top of the world. And from that point on, every time we see him, he learns another lesson and becomes just a little bit more sociable. But it is also true that Bakugo, both in real life and in the show, is a very split character. Some people absolutely love him, some people absolutely hate him. And it also stays true that not everybody can with Bakugo.
Yeah, as a character, I love him because he offers something in the show that is very important to have in the show. He's also a pretty complex character, so that's good. But as a person, I hate him.
I honestly think that, like, imagine him and me, like, just hanging out together. We'd bring chaos to the world. That's one of the things that I actually really, really like his character for. But, yeah, no, like, on honesty, his constant anger and the fact that nobody ever takes him seriously, ever, for me is, like, one of the best sources of humor. Because it takes a while, too, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. At first, people are like, holy shit, what the fuck is that guy doing? And at some point, they're like, yeah, that's just him. Let him be that way.
Why? Never mind. Pory, you also wanted to say something? I think. Like,
did I?
5 minutes back. I don't know. You piped up something about it, and I think I just got through you, but maybe not.
Well, I don't remember.
Okay.
So clearly, I can't really say.
No, I mean,
What other shows are there that are comedy even?
hold on. Let me actually go to my.
I
Konosuba. Have you guys
generally
watched
prefer-
Konosuba? Yeah, sorry, Pory, go on.
generally prefer my comedy shows to be like just like comedy light. Like I'm gonna say I like slice of life shows because the reason they're funny is it's just like these little interactions that have just an ounce of humor in, and then you just get this ounce of humor every scene or so, and then that makes the jokes a lot more powerful to me than a show that's dedicated to comedy where you're constantly being like berated with things that are supposed to be funny, but you kind of just get
I mean,
like resistant to the
a
comedy.
good comedy is, very much, it's like some build up to the punchline, right? So it's like, it's like in a good comedy, or let's just say in a good comedic skit even, if a person talks for, let's say, a whole minute, or only the very last line of that minute, which is like not even a second, should be the thing that makes you laugh. So if they're just constantly hitting you with humor time and time and time again, then it's not a good comedy. A good comedy is, like a build up to that. The old Looney Tunes shorts were, like the entire short, like let's just say a short is like 5 minutes long. The entirety of the 5 minutes just building up to one gag.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have seen this. You probably haven't. There's a claymation called, I think it's called like The War of Clay. God, I'm gonna have to find it. But basically, it's like a 1 minute short, and they're playing this game where they are, the game where you have to put the helmet on before they hit you with the hammer. That like that. It's like a Japanese game, I guess.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh. All right, well, so yeah, but the game is basically you take turns. You got to grab the mallet from like the middle, and you're sitting next to each other. You got to grab the mallet and hit the other person before they can put the pot or whatever they're using. And so they're playing this game with these little clay men. And the joke is that because they're clay, when one of them hits them, their shape changes. And so this clay guy gets pissed off that he's been mushed. And so they're playing the game back and forth. And for the last one, he will grab a massive mallet and just like flattens the other dude. And that's the joke. And explaining it is probably not very funny.
No, not at all.
But that is like if somebody asked me what is a joke, I would probably just link them the video because I think that is the perfect setup and punchline for a joke to have.
Well, I mean,
let's see if I can find
there's Pew Pew Molka. That's funny. That's very funny. It's the best anime ever.
I'm just noticing, I'm going through the list here too, and I'm just noticing that like all of the comedies that I really like are all shoujo.
There are so many shows where I'm like, are they comedy? They have the comedy tag. Like, I guess it's also funny, but stuff like Assassination Classroom. Is that comedy? There's comedy in it.
I mean, it's part comedy. It's like I would say it's a secondary genre. But it's like Assassination Classroom tried very hard to be funny, but for me personally, like very few of the jokes ever hit. But yeah, like my favorite ones were, like, oh yes, Assassination Classroom was tried very, very, very hard to be funny.
No, I agree with that, but I agreed that it wasn't really funny. It's just they tried to be, but it just fell flat. So
Fruits Basket Season 1 had a lot of humor, and then towards the end, all of the emotion hit, and from that point on, it's just an emotional roller coaster. Ouran High School Host Club is still one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember Ouran High School Host Club for the comedy and more for.
I do. So there are so many of the gags.
The character relationships is what I like more.
That's why I think that's why I like the comedy so much, because all of the comedy originates from the character relationships and the character dynamics.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Then there is Lovely Complex, which none of y'all have watched still, despite the fact that I've been telling you since we started this podcast. Go watch fucking Lovely Complex, man. It's so good. Just watch it. Fucking watch it.
Daily Lives of High School Boys.
Haven't watched that yet.
It's like a Nichijou, but then with guys, and it has some funny gags.
I mean, Ichijo is also with guys mostly.
Demon Slayer has a comedy tag.
Yeah, that I do not get. Probably because what's his face? The lightning guy, Zenitsu. You know, the Pikachu that you want to slap.
He is the most annoying. The moment he was introduced in the anime, I just quit watching the anime because he was so annoying.
But you can tell that he's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, he is supposed to be funny, but he's just annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like him very much either.
There's
Toradora had some moments.
Hmm?
Toradora had its moments where I legit was laughing.
Yeah, but it was more a rom-com.
Yes, romantic comedy.
Yeah. It's a comedy. It's a romantic comedy. But I don't like it for its comedy. Again, I like it for the character relationships and the romance.
Yes, and all of the good comedy in that show comes from the character dynamics.
Yeah, but I don't remember any funny moment.
I remember laughing at it a few times. I don't remember why exactly either. But it's been so long on my end. It's been like, I think almost 10 years.
For me, there's a few shows that have like a very funny first episode and the rest just falls flat.
Like
One
what?
of which is Defrag. Defrag has to me, a very first...
The first episode is not funny.
I liked the very first episode, and then after that, I didn't like it. And there's another anime from a while back called Utote... No, something. I don't know anymore. There's Great Teacher Onizuka. That one's genuinely funny.
But you know what? I don't think I laughed once at GTO. Mostly because I think most of the comedy came from like things like, you know, like hilarious animation or facial expressions, but to me they were just plain old ugly. So they never made me laugh.
I think it's the point that they're ugly. That's what's supposed to be funny.
But you know, it's kind of like toilet humor. It's like to me that's just cheap humor. It just doesn't do it for me.
I found it. There's
look, haha, look, ugly face, haha.
Gugure Kokuri-san had a very nice first episode. I don't even know whether it's because of the drama or the comedy, but it just falls flat after that. It has a nice first episode, and the same goes for Hare Togu. Also has a very funny first episode, and then there's nothing. Hetalia is something I used to watch, which is supposed to be comedy, but I don't think
there's
Skip
Beat in there.
Hetalia.
I've never watched Skip Beat, but I've read Skip Beat, and honestly, like Skip Beat was one of the few manga. Like making me laugh with manga is hard, but Skip Beat was one of the few that managed. So if the anime is like even nearly as funny as the manga is, then Skip Beat is fucking hilarious.
I think we've talked about Skip Beat before.
But still, guys, watch Lovely Complex, man. You're like, Lovely Complex is like one of those that manages to make you cry and laugh at the same time because like the entire situation is so fucking sad, but at the same time, you know, the characters are themselves, so they're gonna make you laugh even while being sad. So you don't know whether to laugh or to cry, and you just end up being completely messed up. That's Skip Beat. It's so good. Not Skip Beat, Lovely Complex. Please watch Lovely Complex. Then there's there's the Monogatari season, which never made me laugh, not once. Nope.
No, I don't think that's a comedy show. I don't count that. Hinamatsuri though. Hinamatsuri definitely is. Have you seen that?
Do I think it's? Yeah, I dropped it. It's not funny.
Fuck you. So. It's so funny. Like the manga is even better. The manga is even better. But the
it's just a gag show.
Yeah, but it has good gags because because the characters are given so much heart.
Are they?
Yes.
I don't agree.
Yes, there's
Maybe
also
in the manga
change.
they do.
There's change in the characters. It's not a static gag show. The status quo of the characters actually changes, which is something that I really admire in a comedy show because that's often not the case, especially gag shows. Like the three main leads, like one of them is a homeless girl that's part of her shtick for a while, and then she gets adopted by a family, and that just and it's also very character focused, I think, because most of the funny stuff comes from them being unfamiliar with the world they live in. And it's just, God, I remember so many funny things.
You know, that just like makes me think that, especially like both for Speedy and I don't know about you, Pory, but for us, like the best comedy is, you know, the one that comes from, you know, dynamics between characters. You know, the comedy is funny because we know these characters interacting with one another, and them being just, you know, them being their own crazy selves, or being their own crazy selves with one another is what makes us laugh. I mean, for me personally, gags don't usually do it for me. You know, like cheap humor, like toilet humor, for example, doesn't do it for me at all. And, you know, cheap punchlines don't really do it either.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be this one of two extremes where it's like this very like almost mellow, and then it's funny because you understand that, yeah, this is how this character would react in this situation, and their reaction or their witty retort is just funny because you can imagine being in this conversation. Or it's this night is short, kind of just so ridiculous at all times that you haven't even got time to process how funny it is, because it's just constant stimulus, that's the word.
You know what is very, very common in anime, or just like in Japanese humor in general, that I really, really do not like, that I never, not once have thought is funny? The straight man.
The guy that always says all the stuff.
Yeah, that yells out, you know, like somebody's doing something ridiculous and they're like, why are you doing this? This isn't normal, and so on and so forth. And somehow it's in absolutely every anime, it's in every comedy show, it's in absolutely everything ever in Japan. I'm just like why? Like, even in Gintama, there have been several gags where I'm like, you know, starting to laugh, or like would have been like, this is funny, and then the straight man comes on and nope, the gag is ruined.
I don't think so this was the odd taxi scene that I was alluding to, with the one with Skull Mask and then the guy with the Warthog guy in the cabaret club. I'm not going into more detail, otherwise it's a spoiler. The reason that is funny is because the only way to diffuse the situation would have been somebody just to be like, hey, this is stupid. And that's why it's funny. And it's even funnier because we know that there is like some character motivation related stuff in that as well, where he is a manzai writer and performer, and he's actually not the straight man. He's normally whatever the other one is called.
The funny
so
man.
The funny, I guess it's called that. Yeah, he's normally that. So yeah, we could see like this guy is super talented because even in this high intensity in situation, he can still come up with some witty jokes that diffuse it, and that's funny.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm like, yeah, this could have been funny, right? I don't know why it wasn't funny to me, but I'm like, oh, okay, like, I get it. But the straight man?
Yeah, the straight man, I used to like it. Some scenes from Gintama, for example, because Gintama has a bunch of straight men, depending on the group the anime's
there is always a straight man, no matter who's in the group. One person in that group always takes the position of the straight man.
And like, I think it really depends on the voice acting, but at a certain point you kind of just grow out of it. I remember rewatching Gintama with you, and so much of the comedy just fell flat, where I remember it being much funnier back in the day. So I kind of have
I think that's probably the problem, where if you know that's what the punchline is going to be, it doesn't have the same effect.
Some things are funny no matter how many times you watch it. Which again, watch Lovely Complex, because no matter how many times I watch it, it's fucking hilarious. But you know, the straight man, like, never ever in my life have I gotten the point of the straight man, right? It's just basically like, there is this person who is screaming about, this is the joke. What is so funny about this? About somebody literally yelling at your face, this is the joke. Look here, joke, right there.
The way they say it is supposed to be funny, and that helps the joke somehow.
I mean, it helps the joke if the joke in and of itself were funny, but you know, in many cases, if something is just straight up unfunny, no matter how you say it, it's not going to become funny. And the straight man has never been funny. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, one thing that I definitely think should be considered funny is The Devil is a Part-Timer. The Devil
I
is a
have
Part-Timer
not watched
is funny.
that one yet.
The Devil is it's I think it's very funny. And
You know-
it's good.
You know
And
what
it's good.
humor actually did get me a lot was the humor in both Mob Psycho and One Punch Man.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. Mob Psycho 100 even more than One Punch Man. At a certain point, the One Punch Man humor got kind of samey, but Mob Psycho 100 is just, I know the combined with the charm of the entire show and the heart that it has, the humor always hits somehow. Whether it's a little bit or much more, and it's really aided in the animation as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And the style.
Yeah, but One Punch Man too. I mean, I haven't watched season 2 yet, but in season 1 entirely, like, all of the humor hits. Well, in both of them, Mob Psycho 100 from beginning to end, because I actually read the manga. One Punch Man, I've read the manga, but the manga didn't make me laugh, not nearly as much as the anime did, but the humor in season 1 was always great, from beginning to end. You know, it's just like, imagine you have that, that scene of, what's the guy's name? Gin? Saitama?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gin, of course. Saitama, like the trying to kill the mosquito and just not managing. And now imagine being a straight man there being like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to hit it at supersonic speed? And it's like, that would have just killed the joke so much. There is absolutely
You're
no
right.
straight man in One Punch Man, or Gintama, or Mob Psycho, and I love it. Get rid of the straight man, Japan. He's not funny.
So is there like, I mean, there's no objective way to say this or to judge this, but is there comedy that is just funnier than others? Is there like a hierarchy in comedy?
I mean, comedy in general. Okay, slapstick is probably like the one that gets people the most, or has like the highest, the highest rate of succeeding. I think.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I have never found a person, at least not so far, that does not laugh at Roadrunner. Because I think slapstick is, there's this general rule of thumb for comedy, which is comedy equals tragedy plus timing. And I think nowhere is that better and easier to pull off than in slapstick.
I mean, I really love the Looney Tunes Back in Action movie, and that's like Looney Tunes is just a master in slapstick comedy.
Yes. Tex Avery has a lot to do with that too, though. Like Tex Avery is like just a master at exaggerated animation, quite literally.
So yeah, I agree. It's a slapstick. Slapstick is like, you can't go wrong. Well, you can, but if you do it good, you'll get an audience. You'll get an audience.
Mm. Versus verbal humor. Well, there's stand up, but I don't know. To me personally, like, stand up is very, very hit or miss. Like, again, I showed you Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Speedy. Every single stand up from Midge herself and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel has always made me laugh. Still makes me laugh no matter how many times I rewatch it. But then, you have real life stand-up stand-up legends, right? Like Robin Williams, for example, Dave Chappelle, that I have not once ever laughed at. So much so that, friends of mine be like, damn, you have no humor whatsoever, do you? But then I watch somebody like Ali Wong, for example, and I just throw myself away laughing.
Yeah, I think with stand-up, it's like super important that it's super targeted, where it's gonna make like observations. It's gonna be pretty observational, and if you can't, relate to this observation, or you don't agree with the observation, it's just not gonna. There is just no joke.
Yeah, and I guess for like a lot of male stand-ups, especially, they're like very male-oriented, so it's just not going to hit that much for female targets, especially not black female targets.
Yeah, so Ali Wong is like one of your favorites. Pory, do you have any favorite stand-up comedians? Do you watch?
Yeah, I don't really listen to that much. I used to...
Watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's hilarious.
God, I can't fucking remember his name. Yeah, I just generally don't think that. But like, I mean, I've that's another problem, is like my experience is like some super zoomer on internet age, most stand-up comedians cannot, are not relating to that experience. So I don't.
Watch Paul Taylor.
Though,
Paul Taylor is great.
Paul,
What's that bloke's name that did the Netflix series?
James Acaster, right? Or
no.
I mean, they're James Acaster.
The internet dude.
The internet dude. I know James Acaster has a 4-episode series. I like James Acaster. James Acaster is one of my favorite comedians. Paul Taylor, which is Sheila showed me that.
Paul Taylor.
Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham is also good.
Yeah, he's like the only one that I know of. Yeah, I don't think he's that funny because I think the opposite of it. Like he's like the internet age that I was talking about, but I think he's just a bit direct, which is maybe another reason I don't like it. Where it's just like, yeah, we get it. Like you don't have to explain this.
Is he American? I think he's American, or is he?
He might be Canadian.
You know who's really, really big that I never quite got what's so funny about him? John Mulaney.
Tell us. I like John Mulaney, but it's not... John Mulaney's humor is not a laugh out loud type of humor. It's... I don't know how to describe it. It's very comfortable just listening to him.
I find it boring.
I don't know. For example, the whole "there is a horse loose in the hospital" bit. It's just I like that. That's just funny to me.
I think it was funny where he ran for president.
He ran for president? What?
Yeah, he did.
I don't remember that.
That's fun. Yeah, well, he did do very good, so you probably don't remember.
And one thing that I grew out of, which I wasn't expecting to grow out of, was that Last Week Tonight. I used to find that really funny, but I just don't. I
actually still find that very funny.
I no longer mesh with his humor. It's mostly, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, to be fair, like in the quarantine episodes, that has really, really taken a nosedive.
No, before that.
Yeah, for me, the quarantine, because like a lot of what makes his humor really work, I found, like once the quarantine episode started, was was the audience partly, his interactions with them, and like sometimes it's like spontaneous, it's like when somebody would like go off at a joke and being like, oh, now you laugh at this, now you see it, right, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, the audience plays off of the human instinct that one laughs much easier when in groups. When you're watching a show together with other people, most people, or at least but I think that goes for most people, are much more inclined to laugh at a joke.
But that's not what I meant.
Just being alone.
That's not what I meant. Like it was like him interacting with the audience that's kind of missing. And you can also just like in the quarantine episodes kind of just see him, like finding his own bits less and less funny and becoming more and more serious because, there's no audience for him to interact off of and make it funny.
Yeah.
Though I think the way that the audience changes the way that the way the audience behaves is really interesting. Like there's in a comedy club, Dave Chappelle is talking about this drama he has with some publisher or producer or something, and he's like telling the story about how he got like really fucked over, and he's delivering it the way he would deliver anything, like any of his stand up, and so he'll get to like an end of a sentence and the audience will laugh even though there's no joke, and he's just like, why you laugh? Like I haven't said anything funny. You're just like someone's like habitually laughing, and he gets like visually upset that he's trying to tell this story, and then the audience are just like acting out of it.
Because it's a group dynamic where you're supposed to laugh, but when you're alone watching a show, or you're with other people who are similarly inclined to be critical of something, you aren't nearly as inclined to laugh because that's your own comfort zone. But when you're with other people, you have this inclination that, oh, I'm supposed to be laughing, and it's almost baked in that, oh, if I don't laugh, I'm weird. But like, I mean, I would not be surprised if neither of you two would be inclined to laugh even when in groups. But I definitely find myself laughing at things in groups much more than I would be when it is just when it's just me alone. I laugh much more out loud watching a movie with someone else in a group than alone. And not even group watch. When I group watch anime, that's not how it is. It's when people can physically gauge your reaction to something.
I mean, I do that too. I'm not gonna lie, I do that too. But the fun thing is, like, more often than not, when I do that, I'm the first person to laugh. Either that, or I laugh more because, laughing is kind of contagious, so there's that. But the other thing is, for me at least, like, if I don't find something funny, it's not gonna matter who laughs. I'm just not gonna laugh at it.
Yeah, but it's like there's like jokes where you when you're alone, like, oh, I won't laugh out loud for that, but I find it funny. But that reaction is multiplied by many times the moment you are in a group, and then you start laughing at it out loud because that's, well, I mean, I think if you type in Google, why do people laugh more in groups, I'm pretty sure you get enough articles to explain exactly how that works. So
yeah, no, I get it. And yeah, it is true for me too. It's just that, it's like, how do I put this? Yeah, like you said, things that I would chuckle at or smile at, I would be, I'm probably much more inclined to, like, laugh a little loud at it. But in my case, at least, it's like, even if everybody laughs, if I'm just not going to find something interesting or funny, I'm not going to laugh at it, no matter how many people are in the room. I remember there was this one time we were hanging out at Eloise's place, my, one of my classmates, and we were there with, like, the entire crew, right? Like, several people that you hadn't even met, Speedy. And after watching whatever it is we wanted to watch, we watched, what was it called? Queer Eye is what we watched in Japan, right? And everybody, like I'm absolutely not a fan of reality TV. And everybody else fucking loved Queer Eye, so they were just like, at least give it a chance, let's like, okay, at first I was like, no, I don't like reality TV shows, I never have, and then, when they had enough of my bitching and whining, they were like, well, then go home, you don't have to be here, and I was like, you know what, that's a great idea, I'm going home. And I don't think they expected that, because immediately Marie-Louise was like, at least give it a chance, you've never even seen it, sit down. So I sat down with them, I watched it, and like, everybody was, laughing or crying with it all the time. Mostly laughing, really, because, like, fun comments because reality TV. And I'm just sitting there being bored as shit because I do not like reality TV. I don't find it funny. So if I'm going to laugh, like, it is true that I'm going to laugh more easily or louder if I'm with other people. But I'm not going to laugh at something that I didn't already find funny to begin with.
Yeah.
Even if everybody else does.
I think that rings true, but people have different ways of humor. So
one more thing I wanted to talk about was dubbed comedy versus subbed comedy, because I find myself laughing much more at dubs rather than subs.
I think it's because I just think it's a language. I think it's a language and a cultural thing. Like they're going to adjust it to be. First of all, you understand what they're saying, so you have this like social response where you're not just reading the thing, you're understanding what they're saying. And they're going to adjust the language a little bit so that it just plays to your Western, comedic sensibilities more so than.
Yeah, that might be true. I think a big part of it also has to do with just how uptight everything is in Japan, and that also goes for the language. And so, just kind of making the loose, like dynamic, like not casual, like casual, but more what's what I'm looking for here, like out of nowhere kind of humor. Random, no, not random. Random is also not the word. Help me out here, guys.
I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's
okay. So if something just comes out of like if somebody just thinks of something out of nowhere due to the situation. Like, it's not random.
Like spontaneous?
Yeah, spontaneous. There we go. That's the word. That spontaneous type of humor. I think that the Japanese language is just not suited for it either. And I do kind of like that, spontaneous humor that comes with, just with relationship dynamics, with people knowing each other. And just, like saying weird shit because that's just the kind of weird shit that they would say. Whereas, Like Skate the Infinity, it's a very good example. Especially the bad guy. The bad guy in Japanese is just like straight up creepy, but he has so many like really really fucking good lines in English. Like my favorite line is still, when he has like this dramatic entrance and he goes, "What's up, bitches and bros and non-binary hoes?" Like, I don't even think Japan has the language for that. And that's something that he can say just because he's him, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends. I don't think I would find that funny, but yeah, I'm kind of a sourpuss, so.
Yeah, you're British, we know.
True.
And so that's something that I found, like even Ouran High School Host Club. Like Ouran High School Host Club was funny, like legitimately really, really funny in both languages. But it's actually more funny in English than it is in Japanese. Just because I think that the English language has so much more room for, weird, crazy, spontaneous humor and, people saying weird, crazy, spontaneous shit.
I'm just always so distracted by dubs.
Because you're not used to them. If you were to watch them a bit more, you'd eventually get used to them and then be like, I see the value in this.
Speaking about, I mean, I actually don't know. I think there are dubs that are so good that you don't notice. Like, I was watching The Animatrix a few months ago, and it took me about 15 minutes into the film for me to realize it was in English. Like, I was like, wait a minute, I understand what the words are saying. What the fuck is going on?
Okay,
like,
but you do know that The Animatrix is, an American production, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that until I watched it. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, it's in English. I thought it was an anime. It's on fucking my anime list, so it must be an anime, right? And I was watching it, and I was like, wait, I understand the words that they're saying. This doesn't make sense. I was shocked that I was not watching a sub show. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, dubs can be really, really, really fucking good. Like the Cowboy Bebop dub, I still stand by is better than the sub. And again, part of it is just because, there's so much more room for personality in the English language, I think. Especially for someone as, as easygoing as Spike is.
I don't know if that's true, but if it is, like, I think what could be happening is that it's just the intonations that a Japanese person would hear in the Japanese language, we probably can't identify.
That's also true.
Yeah, we just.
But
yeah,
the nuance of understanding in a language you understand is obviously much higher than.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do also.
You only understand sparingly.
I do also know that, the Japanese language especially is, like, very, very rigid in its structure, right? And especially doesn't have a lot of curse words at all. So, it's like, that's why Bakugo always says die, because apparently, like, telling somebody to die is, like, the worst curse you can possibly do. Which, is very, very tame in comparison to how much you can curse in, let's say, English or German or Dutch. So...
Yeah. The Dutch have a problem with swearing.
So I have heard, yes.
we turn diseases into swears.
Yeah. So English is actually like, I speak 4 languages, 3 of them fluently at this point, and out of all 3 of them, poetic-wise, actually, I think German is the strongest one. Because it was literally a language created for writing in the Renaissance, but, just like colorful and how colorful it is, how far you can go into nuances in different aspects of, like being, life, personality. It doesn't have a lot it does have like a lot in terms of, how rigid it can go, especially if you go into like Olden English, but it also has a lot of, like how casual you can get. That a lot of other languages are just missing, or the other 3 languages I know at least are still missing. So English is actually like a very colorful language with a very, very large spectrum of ways to express oneself that I give every bit in the language of a culture as rigid and structural as Japan is does not have. I would be very surprised if it did.
I agree, but I'm a little surprised on the German thing, because Dutch to me is a language that poetically just sounds far too rigid. It is so very rigid, and no song or
are we talking about the sound or the structure?
Both. Both. Writing, when I try to write in Dutch, it never feels good. It always feels archaic. And I do not have that problem with English. When I talk in English and when I talk in Dutch, it's just like or you have to go with the super informal Dutch. But the super informal Dutch, the way I speak Dutch, is you would have to write down every word very differently, mash together words, leave words half of what they actually are, because Dutch is official Dutch, and the Dutch that people actually use, mostly because of dialects, is usually different. There's in my experience anyway, especially since the dialect that we use, Katwijks or Katwijk, is technically a language on its own. Used to be, no, not anymore. It's kind of a sub language of Dutch, and it's kind of dying out entirely. But there's a dialect born from the way that the people in my area speak Dutch. That the way I would be talking Dutch is much different than writing it down, and that difference, the way that the language of the Dutch language is very archaic, just makes poetry and writing feel so distant, so unlike normal Dutch and normal living. So I'm kind of surprised that in German you'd say that that's not the case.
I mean, if you want to write, let's say, modern, that would be a bit more difficult, because, like the modern casual way of speaking, at least to my ears, just comes off as uneducated. But for poetry, like, Germany has a very, very complicated grammar system. But that grammar system allows for so many nuances that the English language, or any other language that I know, I should say, can never quite replicate. So when it comes to, in terms of, when it comes to poetry, when it comes to making, those tiny little subtleties clear that you want to showcase, when it comes to, writing things, especially when it comes to when you want to write something very skilled, when you want to come off very skilled, when you just like, the last book that I've read was Die Vermessung der Welt, The Measuring of the World, and every single there was no direct speech in that book. It was all it's called conjunctive in German, right? If you don't write in direct speech, but in indirect speech. And the thing is that, indirect speech in English, for example, would be, he said this would be that way, for example. Now the would in this particular sentence is indirect, but can also be, used in other tenses and in other forms. Whereas the German grammar system, sagt, es wäre so gewesen, the wäre is really something that you only use in indirect speech in the conjunctive. And so, there is no room for misinterpretation there. But because of that, you can just tweak. There's one song that came out not too long ago, that is all about censorship in art, right? And they play with, first everything is in indirect speech, meaning let's just assume I'm writing a song and I were to say this or that, right? And then as the song goes on, at some places they drop the indirect speech, replace it with something that could possibly also be indirect speech, but something else entirely. And then at the very end, drop all of the maybes, would theys, want theys all together, go back to, direct speech, being like, okay, this is what I said, but once in a while, put the indirect speech in there, just to give, like this little tone of, okay, but what if? And so that way, the German language is really, really good for poetry, because it allows you to play with all of these different, types of grammars that it has, that most other languages, as far as I'm aware at least, don't really have. So when I say it is a language created for poetry, I really do mean it was created for poetry, because in the early Renaissance, with Goethe and Schiller, the German language basically got a complete overhaul and was, like German was the language for poets for a while.
I feel like, now that I listen to what you said, I think the problem is not Dutch. I think the problem is me. Because when I think of uneducated speech, I think my problem is when I look at poetry in Dutch or at writing in Dutch, I think no one talks like this. No one uses these words in this sentence unless they write it down in order to make art. And I feel a disconnect between my life, my experiences, and the way I talk, and I hear everyone around me talk, and these rigid, archaic words that obviously have a lot of meaning and have been masterfully crafted into art, but aren't like anything that I know. I think that's the disconnect, and I think that the problem is with me here.
That's possible, very much, because, art is not always necessarily supposed to be a representation of real life. Yeah. Sometimes having it be a representation of real life actually does not make for good art.
Don't say that it isn't. I think it's easier to use the more archaic and the more expressive and the more deeper meanings of words to make art, like poetry or writing or prose, or instead of using the everyday speech of humans. Both is possible, but I find it harder to connect to things that are not written the way I know them.
I mean, you were very much on board with, like what Lauren was writing, and, his written form was very much not how people talk.
Yeah. Well,
and neither are the Quentin Tarantino movies.
I'm
and that is very, very good writing.
I am speaking specifically about Dutch. I do not have this problem with English. English is a very different ball game when it comes to language and songs and stuff like that. Like, hearing songs in Dutch just makes me cringe because it sounds wrong. It sounds like there shouldn't be songs written in Dutch. There are very few songs that I find fun to listen to in Dutch. Whereas English, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with English songs whatsoever.
I like really, really good songs in. There are some really good songs in German that are just so good because of how well the language is used.
Yeah, I think in German, I don't know German. I know German so little that I wouldn't really get it anyway, and then that's why I wouldn't care. Like, I know there's a few German songs that I listen to sometimes, like Nena.
99 Luftballons.
Yeah, for example, that like I could just listen to a song of hers because most of the words just fly by me without me even knowing exactly what they mean. If I were to pay attention, I would probably know because.
Quick question: do you guys know what 99 Luftballons is all about?
It's
I think Pory,
who now? 99 what?
99 balloons. 99 red balloons. The song.
I don't even know the song, so clearly.
You don't know the song? Okay, you gotta look up that song because
99 Luftballons.
Yeah, in English it's called 99 red balloons.
Can I say it? I think I know what it is.
Go ahead.
I think
Hit me.
I think it's about war, isn't it? And the way that it has an impact on everything and everyone. Or is it a nuclear? It was something very, very like it was a very serious topic. It was either nuclear explosions or war. One of the two.
It was war. It was war.
Yeah, it was war.
The song is literally like people go to war because they see 99 like war. Like, okay, it starts off with like people just kind of being curious. What are these 99 balloons right there up the horizon? And then people are like, oh, those are 99 balloons. We can use them as an excuse to wage war. And then everybody around them is like, holy shit, they're waging war. Like, they're going to attack us. We need to join in on the war. And in the end, you have 99 years of war. Everything is destroyed. There's no more room for anything. And, Nina, the singer, is just, like, walking around a world that is completely destroyed. There's nothing left of it. That's the song.
99 Jahren Krieg.
99 Jahre Krieg.
99 Jahre Krieg. I was
Ließen
missing
keinen
one.
Platz für Sieger. Kriegsminister gibt's nicht mehr. Und auch keine Düsenflieger.
It's a good song. It has a very, very, very long intro, though, I think. Was it another song of theirs?
Zeit für mich? Dann singe ich ein Lied für dich von 99. Another Nina song?
Yeah, I think that Nena was like the German artist of the 1980s.
There's another one that was really, really huge. If I could only remember her name, she's also like very famous even amongst classical artists for her experimental songs. But I don't remember what she was called.
But anyway, I think we've kind of veered off.
Yeah, veered off topic entirely. All right, one last question.
Oh boy. We're already 2 minutes in.
Yeah, sorry. One last question. Why do you guys think gag comedies like Saiki K, for example, or Kaguya-sama are so big in Japan, but don't hit for any of us?
Yeah.
I mean, they're big in general. Like, they're not just big in Japan. People love those shows.
Okay, but why?
Because it's the easiest humor to write, and it's very quick humor, and I think it's mostly popular with younger audiences, and I think it's the same thing where as a kid you're reading Donald Duck and you're reading books that might not be wonderfully written, but they.
Are you implying that Donald Duck is not wonderfully written?
Depends. Some stories are
Who the fuck reads Donald Duck? Is that a thing that you do?
The comics.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, but like take Saiki K for example, right? Saiki K is like one of the biggest comedies of all ages, and it's literally just gag humor.
Yeah, I think it's a generalization, an age thing.
Yeah.
An age thing.
Okay, but like I said, Saiki K is like big amongst all ages.
How do you know? I think it's big under teenagers.
I'm pretty sure she's right.
Polls.
Yeah, she's
there
right.
There are literal polls.
Well, then I don't have any answer for you, but you probably do.
I think it's just easier. Like, I think it's just, there's no buy-in. You just kind of, it's just silly, and you can appreciate something that is silly.
Yeah, but like, if it was easier, then most people would like it.
Most people like it. I mean, nobody's gonna like everything. That's just.
Why don't we like it? Why don't we like easy humor then? What's
statistical anomalies? That's what it is.
No,
we're the
It's not just numbers on a screen, and we happen to all be ones instead of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6s or 7s.
That's how bell curves work. That's how bell curves work, dude. No, I don't know.
Yeah, but no, there's an underlying reason
maybe we just
some people just don't like it.
Maybe we just have more self-respect and we don't want to laugh at that.
We're superior to the masses.
Correct. I mean, I would say maybe it was because we're more educated, but that really only goes for me and maybe Pory.
Oh fuck you.
Yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah, do you have the answer, Sheila, or are you just?
No, I was literally asking that question because I do not know.
Yeah, I think it's just. I think there's just no buy-in. I think you could just appreciate it no matter who you are. Yeah. But that's kind of lame.
I mean, for me personally, it's like, it's hard for me to enjoy humor if there is no buy-in, because then what am I laughing about?
Yeah, I agree, but. Yeah.
That's something that other people can comment on if they ever manage.
Yeah, if you have the answer, if you can tell us what's so funny about shows like Kaguya-sama or Saiki K, or what other gag shows do we have? Sakamoto was one of them, right? What else? I can't think of any others.
There's so much. People will be able to come up with them.
Yeah, okay, so if anybody's listening to this at all, tell us which gag shows you like and why you like them and what the appeal of them is.
And with that, we shall end it.
Yep, so, and that's not just the end of the episode, it's the end of the podcast.
Oh my god.
The end of the podcast.
No. End of the podcast.
Are you sad, Pory?
Not really.
Yeah.
I was about to say, if you're sad, you can do the additional cutting from now on, and we can continue.
We can entertain the thought of a stream rather than
that's cool. That's cool. That's not a bad idea.
I like my favorite part of it is the talking about anime in general, and like even if we don't pick a topic, as long as we keep watching shows, it's just gonna.
That is infinite content. You're right. That is infinite
content. So as long as we do that, we could just stream. I have OBS. We could quickly set up as Twitch, or we can do it on YouTube. So maybe we'll just do it on YouTube. There won't be any video editing and stuff like that. So
maybe we'll see.
Only easier on us. We'll see. We'll discuss it. I'm not editing another episode past episode 10. So
that's on you, darling. You started this. You have to see it through to the end.
Good job, Speedy. You did it. We're all proud of you. We're all very proud of you.
We're all very proud of you.
I'm not,
and you get to be proud of yourself.
You
don't get to be proud of yourself because for the first time you managed to finish something you put your mind to.
No, I'm not. I'm just relieved that I'm finally done. That's
but
all.
you should also be proud. You finished this.
No, I'm
okay,
not.
So maybe not right now, but like in a year or so, you'll be like, hey, look, there's this project that I did and I actually finished it.
No, I don't feel I finished it on the terms that I want to finish it on, because the quality has dropped so dramatically.
Are you sure?
Because
I think like
really.
I think episode 9 was like the best fucking episode, to be honest.
Yeah,
but we haven't really cut it yet, have we?
Well, just cut it then,
hasn't really
bitch.
gone through the editing. Like 7 and 8 were due to technical problems.
Oh, right.
Okay, but these are going to happen. Like technical problems are just going to happen.
Yeah, but like it's so frustrating.
Yeah, live with it. Move on to the next one. Literally, there is literally
I want to cry
podcast.
and whine about it.
There is
I want to
literally
be a
no
bitch.
podcast
Let me
or
be a
no
bitch.
anime or no production ever out there where the production is on the same fucking standard from beginning to end. There are always going to be drops in quality and heights in quality, and you're gonna have to learn to live with that if you want to create anything ever.
No. Well, we'll see. But I'm not proud of something that I don't find entertaining.
Well,
I like
if it
talking.
If it happens at all, if it helps you at all, I'm fairly certain that our podcast is actually very entertaining. I've had several people say so.
I'm entertained.
I cannot understand those people then. I mean, some parts.
It's the
some
back
parts,
and forth. It's
He's
like
a true artist. He never likes anything.
Every single time that I ask people to like listen to this, like the one thing that I always say is I love the back and forth. It's so fun.
Some people, some parts I like, but then there's other parts that are like, that this goes a little bit too long into this, or this is not an interesting part to listen to.
Well, Speedy, that's a sign that you're a real artist, because there are some conventional wisdom that a film is never done, right? That's like the
that's
the
kind
line.
of how it is, yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
It gets so frustrating, but like, see, the thing is, like, just like with you know, at some point you're just so frustrated by the project that you want to be done with it already, and then you come back to it like a year or two later, and you're like, I did this, I finished it, and you can't be proud of that.
We'll see about that. But I think it would be an insult to real artists to call myself an artist. I don't think that's correct.
Hey, not everyone is.
I mean, it is a very common artist problem. I do agree with Pory there.
Well, on that very positive note, we shall be ending it for tonight at least.
All right. I was Sheila. Is anybody going to join in?
Bye from Speedy.
Bye from Pory. Forever.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll see you guys around.
Maybe. We'll see. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.